So, Lone Rider here, and I want to talk about these. Now, I've heard from a lot of people lately saying things like, oh, nobody needs to carry a knife, there's no reason you should have to have one, blah, blah, blah. The general reasoning, I think, is that they assume these are going to be used as horrible weapons of crime. I honestly don't understand that philosophy, but then again, I also don't understand why people believe that you should, have heavy restrictions on firearm ownership either. Um, However, unlike something like a gun, which is more or less designed as a weapon, smaller, normal-sized pocket knives are designed as tools, and they're used as tools by many people every day, all the time. Could they also be used as a weapon? Well, yes, but so could a brick. Are you going to outlaw masonry? Just a thought. Um, the problem I have with people trying to say, well, nobody has a reason to carry a knife, and um, this sentiment is often put forth by people who, I guess, think they know better and actually know very little. It's funny how that usually works. But it was best summed up, I think, by a quote from the mayor of London in England, something Khan. I don't remember his first name. And frankly, whenever I hear the name Khan, I think of the Wrath of Khan, the Star Trek movie. So um, I'm at a total loss for what his first name is. But Mr. Khan, for whatever his first name is, was quoted as saying something to the effect of, well, nobody has any reason to ever carry a knife. And he then followed it up by saying, well, if you're caught with one, you're going to get in a lot of trouble and yada yada, because I guess London has stupider laws than we do, even here in New Jersey, which is saying a lot because a lot of the rules here regarding both tools and weapons are very, I think they were written by people who have sort of a shortage of little gray cells upstairs, if you know what I mean. Um, but here's the thing. Now, Mayor Khan in his daily life may have absolutely no reason to carry a knife. Um, I mean, we can start with the fact that he's mayor, so he's surrounded by people. I mean, if he needs to open a package or do something, he probably has people for that. People who, ironically, are on the taxpayer's dime. Um, but the point is, living here in the United States, I'm not beholden to what Mayor Khan says in London, in England. The problem is that I've seen that idea, that concept, that philosophy, if you want to call it, um, expressed by people here as well. And so I want to throw something out there. There's plenty of reasons you would need a knife. We can start with the most basic thing, opening packaging at work. And somebody might well say, well, if that's what you're going to use it for, then why can't the people at your work just hand out box cutters and then you hand them in when it's time to go home? And then you get handed them every day and then you hand them back and yada yada. And the answer is that I've actually worked at places where they do that, and the box cutters they usually give you are complete shite, and they're absolutely useless as far as using them the way you would use a knife. We can start with the fact that many of these box cutters are designed to be safety knives, so they're ironically less than functional. A lot of them, um, the blade's under spring tension, and you have to keep your thumb on it to keep it open. The moment you let go, it closes. The philosophy of use seems to be that they think their employees are so stupid that if the blade stays open once opened, unless actually deliberately closed, they seem to be under the impression that people will just put a knife with an open blade back in their pocket and cut themselves. So to make it safe, quote unquote, they have it so the blade does not stay open unless you have your thumb on the lever. Now the problem with that is you have to be holding it by the lever, which means you can't hold it out by the end. What does this mean? Well, it has absolutely no reach. In addition to the fact that razor blades are shorter than knife blades, aren't curved, have no belly to them, usually have no kind of heat treating or anything, and are actually prone to snap if there's any kind of sideways stress is put on them. We can add in the fact that if you have to hold the knife up here with maybe about half an inch of razor blade protruding, there's absolutely no way you can get any kind of a back, far back grip on it that would give you reach. Now, why would you need to do this? Well, you wouldn't if you were just opening boxes that were sitting there right in front of you on a table. But it's not the only situation somebody might need to use a knife for. Something that happened to me a while ago. I was taking a box down from a shelf in a warehouse. there was a box next to it, and the packing strap from the one box caught on the other box. Now, what was in box number two, the box that it was caught on, was a 3-ton car jack. Now, the jack didn't weigh 3 tons, but it was rated to 3 tons. So this is a big, heavy piece of ironmongery, about the size and shape of an anvil. And it was caught on the other box, and both of them had started falling down, and they were going to land on my head. I had 2 tools in my pocket. I had a Spyderco, not this particular Spyderco. This is the Spyderco Para 3, which I didn't own at the time. But I had a Spyderco pocket knife in this hand, a locking, reliable, easy to open, smaller, normal-sized pocket knife. And in the other pocket, I had my box cutter, which was one of these box cutters that's designed so the blade does not stay open. So in addition to all the detriments, if you will, of a box cutter or razor blade style blade compared to a knife, lack of reach, lack of belly, lack of width, lack of strength, lack of heat treatment, etc., you also have the fact that it wouldn't even stay open. So it wasn't a question of could I use it. If I held it any further back than at the very end of the handle, the blade wouldn't stay open. So it was just flat out unusable. And I very clearly needed a knife that I could access with one hand, open quickly, and use, because if I didn't cut that packing strap, the one box was going to pull the other one down. It was going to crack me in the head and cause severe injury, if not death. I mean, a 3-ton car jack is nothing to sneeze at. So I didn't even bother reaching for the box cutter. I'm not a fool. I reached for the Spyderco, I flicked open the blade, and I went like this. Actually, more like this, because like I said, they were coming down from the shelf. And I didn't really have time, and I couldn't really see over the shelf to cut, but I just kind of thrust. And when I thrust, because the blade has a little bit of belly here, it went into the packing strap, and then it cut it as I pushed forward. The packing strap parted ways. The box with the 3-ton car jack stayed where it was. The other box, which was already in the act of falling, in which I was actually holding up with my hand when I pulled out the Spyderco knife, continued to fall. I closed the knife. I was able to grab that box and set it off to the side. And I avoided having something the size and shape of an anvil from the old Roadrunner cartoons fall on my head. Everybody wins, right? Nobody's hurt. An accident is avoided. And I get to live another day without, a crushed skull. Absolutely wonderful. Now, I guess I could have used something else or done something else to cut that strap, but I certainly could not have used the box cutter that was provided by my place of employment. So the idea, well, you don't need to carry a knife if you have to cut things at work or open packaging. Your employer could just give you box cutters and then take them back at the end of the day, and therefore you don't have to carry a knife on you when you're walking about. No, okay. I've been there and I've done that, and when push came to shove and I did need to cut something at work in a situation that was beyond simply opening a box, but one of the many other situations that one can find themselves in a dynamic universe where there's things always happening, I didn't reach for the box cutter because I would have ended up either dead or with brain damage. What I reached for was my Spyderco, okay? And I'm going to be brutally honest. The pocket knife I had on me at the time, and again, it wasn't this Spyderco, but it was a Spyderco. I won't say it saved my life, but it saved my quality of life. The reason I didn't have everything from a concussion to a broken shoulder to a snapped neck to brain damage to death. The reason I'm not sitting here drooling like a vegetable, the reason I can even have a conversation about this topic, is because I was carrying my pocket knife on me at the time. Okay? I won't say it saved my life, but it saved my quality of life and my functionality as a human being. And so when somebody says that I shouldn't be allowed to carry a knife, I guess what they're saying is that I should have had that thing fall on my head. I should be dead or have brain damage or be in a wheelchair or have a broken shoulder or a broken neck. Because you know what? That's exactly what would have happened if I wasn't carrying one of these. So my problem with somebody, whether it's Mayor Khan, who sort of typified the attitude, or somebody here in the States who wants to restrict the carrying of knives or disapprove of it, or says you shouldn't carry that as a tool every day, if you're going to tell me that, then you should be able to tell me how I can handle every potential situation that has arisen, let's say in the last year, where I've needed to use a knife, whether for something mundane or, in fact, to save my safety and my life from an emergent situation, you need to be able to explain to me every one of those situations and how I could have handled them without one of these. And you can't do that, can you? No. All right? Because you're just one fallible human being, and you have no idea what number of infinite things can occur to any number of all the people out there that you're trying to speak for. All right? When you say that nobody has any reason to carry a knife, what you really mean is you have no reason to carry a knife, and you're so small-minded and stupid that you can't see that everybody's daily tasks aren't your daily tasks, okay? I'll give you another one. I was mountain biking in the woods. I came to a steep incline. I decided to dismount and walk down. I figured it would be safer. My foot slips on a rock. I fall. My shoulder is mostly dislocated. Now, I'm miles from the trailhead. It's a weekday morning. There's not a lot of people in the park. I'd been riding for several hours and I hadn't seen a soul. As far as I knew, nobody was going to come around and help me. I kind of leaned against the tree and managed to sort of push the shoulder mostly back in, but it was still pretty sore and the arm was flopping around like a dead fish. I used one of these. I cut a piece of paracord. I made a little loop, hung it around my neck, used it to sling my arm so that I could free my other hand from cradling my injured arm to holding the bike, the handlebar of the bike, so I could get out of the woods with my bike and back to my car so I could drive home and get help for my injury. Now, I guess I should have just stayed in the woods and died of dehydration or maybe gotten eaten by a bear or abandoned my really, really nice, perfectly dialed in single speed mountain bike because I didn't have a free hand because I hadn't cut a sling with my knife because I didn't have a knife. No. Okay. Absolutely freaking no. And let's add something that could happen to anybody, whether they bike or whether they work in a place where they're lifting boxes or anything. Driving accident. We all use the roads, right? And many of us either drive or ride in cars. So here's the deal. What if you're driving in your car, you're just going down the road, minding your own business, and you run off the road into a ditch? And the ditch is filled with water, and the car starts to sink. And, oh my God, you're going to drown. Whatever will you do? You're trapped in there. Well, you take out your pocket knife, you cut your seatbelt, you free yourself, and you get out of that car. You don't drown. You live another day. Isn't that wonderful? So when somebody says you don't need a knife, are they saying you should just sit there and accept your fate and drown? Apparently. Now, how often do these things happen? How often do you slip and bust your arm? How often do you have something heavy about to fall on your head? How often does your car get run off the road into a ditch? Not often. But when it does, you need one of these. Okay?